let's go back to the
Speaking of
island.
which,
We're on the island again?
We're back to the island,
Manhattan.
and let's go to the island. Let's
I live on an island. So.
Everything is an island in some context. Like Earth is an island. This universe is an island in a multiverse.
There's no multiverses. There's only one universe.
All right, so so let's invite Jordan Peterson to this island.
You wish. Hold on.
Subit.
Hold on a sec. Hey, girl. What you doing? Lex Fridman? Look him up.
Lex who?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
Lex who?
Lex has
No, I know.
as big of a following almost as Jordan does.
I know Jordan. I know his family actually through Jim Keller, who's his relative. He's an engineer. So, and I just talked to Sam, who is perhaps a little bit aligned in some sense on your perspective on religion and so on. So let me ask: is there
religion? Yes, but
other things? No.
Sam Harris.
No.
Sam Harris. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Sam Harris.
He's on first name relations
Look
with
at this
these guys.
inside baseball.
Yeah.
I just talked to Sam.
I thought.
Let's talk
just-
about humility. Let's talk about humility. Like
No.
my buddy Sam. I was talking to Barack. You might know him.
I simply
Humility went out the window.
I'm just a natural language processing model that I assume that once I mention Jordan Peterson, it becomes an obvious statement what Sam means. This is how neural networks think. This is how robots think, Michael. You should know this. I thought by now you'd be a scholar.
I was being humble. For the sake of the audience.
Humility. Everything can teach you something, even a robot. Okay. So do you think there's value in religion or broader? Do you think there's value in myth? And as we've been talking about the value of reason, do you think it's possible to argue in society as we grow the population of our little island that there's some value of common myths, of common stories, of common religion?
There was value. There is no value today. So human beings need explanations, right? They need a philosophy to guide their life. They need ethics. They need some explanation of what's going on in the world, right? And it's no accident that the early religions had a river god and they had a sun god and a moon god, because they everything they didn't understand they made God, right? So they had multiple gods because they didn't understand very much. As human understanding evolved, it increased, as we knew reality more, right? We came to the conclusion of, this is very inefficient to have all these gods. This is a genius of Judaism, right? Let's just have one bucket to put all the stuff we don't know in, and we'll call it one God. And then as we gain new knowledge, we can just take it out of the bucket that's God and put it into the bucket of science. At some point, though, and that point suddenly came during the scientific revolution, I think, we could come to the conclusion that no, we don't need this bucket that's called God to explain the things that we don't know. We can say we don't know, and we're learning. And slowly, our knowledge is increasing. And yet there's a lot more that we don't know, but we don't need to throw it into some bucket that's called God in order to have it. And I think that's true for morality, and it's true for everything else, right? As we gain the tools to understand what morality requires, we don't need a set of commandments. We can figure out morality from human nature and from reality. So I don't think we need religion anymore. I think religion needed to die probably about 200 years ago, and was dying. I think up until Kant, it seemed to be dying. And one of Kant's missions, as he says, is to revive religion against the attack of reason and the Enlightenment. Now, mythology is a little different because it depends what you mean by mythology. Certainly, we need stories, and certainly we need art. Art is and Rand writes about this a lot, and she's an artist, and she writes in. I'm a huge fan of the Romantic Manifesto, which I think is one of her underappreciated masterpieces.
Oh, I hate it. Okay,
yeah,
that's okay.
Yeah, so I think we have a real need, right? As a conceptual being, we have a need for aesthetic experiences. We have a need to concretize abstractions, to concretize abstract ideas, to concretize the complex nature of the world out there. And that's what painting, sculpture, to an extent music, but painting, sculpture, literature does for us. So to the extent that mythology serves that purpose, it's just art, right? To the extent that it serves another purpose, that is that it's a way for the gods to communicate with us, or it fits some kind of pre-existing mental construct that we have, again, kind of a Kantian perspective, right? That we have these categorical imperatives and this mythology links up to that. Then I think it's false. It's not helpful and destructive. So I believe religion today is a destructive force on planet Earth. I think it's always been a destructive force. It was just a necessary force, right? You needed an explanation. People needed something to believe in. Once you get philosophy, and once you get philosophy that starts explaining real life, real world, you don't need religion anymore. And indeed, it becomes a destructive force. And you look around the world today, it's an unbelievably destructive force. Everywhere it touches is bad for life. Again, mythology depends. Art is essential, very, very crucial to human existence.
I mean, I'd love to hear what you think, but you don't see religion and philosophy and mythology as just a continuous spectrum.
No.
Yeah, so religion is a primitive form of philosophy.
But I don't
It's
think
pre-philosophical.
where I thought with Yaron was going to go and he didn't go was that I think I agree with what he's going to say. Rand was a mythologizer. In certain specific context, Atlas Shrugged is a myth. It's one thing to sit down and say, these are the people who move us forward. These are the values that are important. When you experience it through a story, through a movie, through a TV show, a poem, or a painting, it affects you in a very visceral, very different way. Talk about American history. You have the Founding Fathers, then you have the myth of the Founding Fathers. Now, unfortunately, the term myth often means lie, but it could mean, in a useful sense, an abstraction to help you systematize and concretize ideas. So you have the myth of Reagan, you have the myth of Thatcher. These, the reality often falls very short.
Yep.
But when you look at how these different figures are mythologized, not only is it very inspirational on a personal level, very motivating on a personal level, it's also a great way to concretize ideas, because just how humans think, it's one thing to think about ideas, but when you see someone who embodies these ideas, Miss America, I was saying earlier, I had an astronaut on my show. These people might be jerks, but when you look at them one specific aspect of their life and you extrapolate it, that can be to anyone very motivating. And it's very important for people to have the belief that happiness and achievement is possible. Because it's very hard to keep that in mind, especially if you're depressed, if you're anxious, you're unemployed, you don't have a girlfriend, you think it's going to be like this forever. And then you look at someone's story and they're like, you know what, that astronaut interview, Clayton Anderson, he applied 13 times, didn't get a call back, applied the 14th time, got a call back, didn't get the job, 15th time he get the job. He talks to kids and he goes, listen, apply 13 times. Even if you don't get the call back, you'll still feel I'm doing something. And having heard him and the myth of Clayton Anderson, this is going to tell people, yeah, you know what, that could be me.
You don't think
absolutely, and it's not just happiness. It's the fact that virtue works.
Yeah.
That the integrity. I mean, what's the power of the fountainhead? I know you love the fountainhead.
Oh, yeah.
Part of the power of the fountainhead is how it works. Absolute commitment to integrity. He is committed to integrity, and he gets and he's happy, right? And it's very rare in life to see that, to actually see a concrete of that, and it's very hard to hold it in your mind. Yes, I'm gonna be stuck in the quarry, or I'm gonna be stuck doing this horrible job, but if I stick to my principles, I'm gonna be how it works. Now I've got that concrete. I know I can immediately relate to that success. So I think art is essential. And I think, in a sense, what we do to Thatcher and Reagan is art. You have to be careful in true stories not to diverge too far from reality, because then when you discover the reality, you don't want to whitewash it, and particularly when it has political implications, and then it's really bad. So particularly with Reagan and Thatcher, you have to be careful, because they weren't anywhere near as good as people try to make them out to be. But these are powerful, powerful, powerful stories. And people are moved by it. And the integration of emotion with reason is crucial, right? One of the goals to be happy is to bring your emotions in line with your thinking. And I think that stories and arts more broadly, and I when I go and see Michelangelo's David, it does the same thing to me. I can stand up to anybody because he did, and look, he succeeded, and it makes sense that he could, right?